You thought it meant iconic classic.
No, I didn't. No, I thought it meant iconic. I thought it was the cool way of saying iconic. Well, we're looking at
that. You misused that word so badly.
This is Now Showing.
Hello and welcome to Now Showing.
I'm Beau.
I'm Ben.
And this is the podcast where we argue about movies.
And this week, we're taking a trip back in time. We're going to look at the classic, the iconoclastic, Pride and Prejudice.
The iconic classic.
Iconoclastic. That's a word. That's the word. Look it up.
Iconic classic, isn't it? Is that what you were trying to say?
We've gone off track already.
What the fuck is classic?
Iconoclastic. It's like what this word's short for.
Iconoclastic.
Yeah.
As in one word?
Yeah.
Or is it hyphenated?
Well, now you got me guessing myself.
Iconoclastic.
Yeah, iconoclastic.
I'm gonna look this up.
Please do.
Define. The word iconoclastic is an adjective referring to a breaking of established rules or destruction of accepted beliefs. That's not use. You incorrectly used that so badly.
Iconic.
It might refer to an artist with an unorthodox style or an iconoclastic attack. You thought it meant iconic classic.
No, I didn't. No, I thought it meant iconic. I thought it was the cool way of saying iconic. Well, we're looking at
that. You misused that word so badly.
Yeah, in all the times that I've used that word, because it comes up so often. Well, okay, fine. We're taking a trip back in time to look at the classic, the icon that is Pride and Prejudice plus zombies.
It's pretty self-explanatory. It's the Pride and Prejudice story set in an apocalyptic dystopian England where the Black Plague is actually a zombie virus that turns the living undead and gives an insatiable hunger for brains. But what about the marriage prospects for the Bennett daughters? That's what this film is really about. The action, zombie killing, and babes kicking ass is simply a backdrop for the inane obsession Mrs. Bennet has to mashing together any one of her daughters to absolutely any eligible bachelor that walks through her door, even their cousin. What's worse is that she vocalizes her ratings of her daughter's appearances and basically has ranked them from 1 to 6 the best marriage option. Ugh. I don't know if this is exactly how Pride and Prejudice is in both movie and book format, but if it is, I'm glad I haven't put myself through that before. Ultimately, this film is about the pride of the lead characters Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy, and the prejudice of Mr. Darcy against the zombies he so adamantly hunts and slays. There's also some random shit in there about Japanese versus Chinese deadly arts training, a plot about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse that goes nowhere, and the idea that no woman should have to lay down her swords for a man. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Ridiculous, yet a few entertaining moments. Gives it 2 stars in my book.
You're glad you didn't put yourself through that? But surely you did your research for this week, Beau. As we said last week, we were like, let's go away, let's do a research. I'll take the 1940 Laurence Olivier version of Pride and Prejudice. You were going to take the Keira Knightley version. What did you think of that one?
And neither of us did that homework.
I did it. I watched the 2005 Keira Knightley version.
Yeah, not the one you said.
Because I knew you weren't going to do it. No, because yes, I was doing it as a stepping stone. I have not watched Pride and Prejudice before. I didn't know what it was about.
Neither have I. But I came out, I swore to myself a long time ago that I would never watch nor read Pride and Prejudice.
What do you mean?
I came out of the womb. My first words were, I don't want to watch Pride and Prejudice.
Why? Why not?
Because it's boring.
It's not boring. Now, I fully anticipated the Keira Knightley version to be a drag, and I fully expected Pride and Prejudice and Zombies to be awesome. And you know what? It was the other way around. I love the 2005 version. It was cool.
Are you serious?
I might have had a little tear.
What?
I tell you this in the most manly way. In the not feeling uncomfortable at all way, but I really enjoyed it.
You were like, out of the two of us, you're the action movie lover. You're the one that is the first to jump on like, oh, boring. Like any slow-paced film.
And I'll
any
admit,
talky film, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah, and I'll admit, I do defend Michael Bay on occasion. You know, when people are like, oh, stupid action here, or I'm on the bandwagon that's like, it's cool action. I don't care. We were talking about Ong Bak last week, for example.
Yeah.
A film without a lot more depth to it than just some punching and some running away from stuff with some porn music in the background. But I really like Sense and Sensibility. Honestly, I really liked Pride and Prejudice. It was the 2005. So I watched the 2005 version, directed by Joe Wright, and I was amazed by the cast. So it's got Keira Knightley, it's got Donald Sutherland, it's got Rosamund Pike, Judi Dench is in it.
What?
She plays the Lena Headey character in this. I'm jumping ahead here, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say that I watched Pride and Prejudice last night, and I really liked it. It was good. And I'm so surprised that you were able to pull out from this Pride and Prejudice and Zombies that the mother's trying to marry off her children. That is sort of the main crux of the start of the other version. And I'm surprised you got that with this Zombies version.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the most blatant thing that's going on.
And that's the thing. She's really overt about it in Zombies.
yeah.
I'm going to call it PP and Z now. It's PP versus PP and Z because I just can't say the whole title every time. She's really overt in Zombies. But in the other one, yes, she does have the same intention and she does rank her daughters, sort of, which is poor.
Terrible.
Yeah, but she's not as overt about it. It's more like when they say stuff to each other. Like there's a clip I'll show you later on. It's when they're ranking them, what they're really doing is that they're like giving each other the silent, I really like you. You know, you're not my favorite. They look
The
like...
fact that she has favorite daughters is just terrible.
Well, one of them's Rosamund Pike and the other's Jenna Malone. I mean, what are you going to do?
That is awful.
So I'm surprised you got that from it.
Yeah, well, it's so blatant and in your face in this. Like, the mother is a terrible character. She is just a bad human being. She's a bad mother, a bad human being, and there's nothing really redeemable about her.
In the PP version, it sounds ridiculous referring to it as that. In the PP version, yeah, she has the same thing in every scene she's in. It happens, but Keira Knightley's Elizabeth Bennet has a line back to her at some stage. It's like most of the way through the film. And she says to her, basically what the audience is thinking of, do you ever think about anything else? And the mother replies with something like, I've got 5 daughters. Let's see how you handle it when you have 5 daughters. So it's sort of character driven in that way, whereas it was just obnoxious in Zombies. Yeah, I agree. So what did you think of the cast as a starting point?
In PP&Z?
Yeah.
I really like Sam Riley as Mr. Darcy. I think his voice was great.
Could not disagree with you more. He was putting on the Two-Face voice. He was putting on the Batman voice.
No.
The gravelly and shit.
I'm pretty sure that's his natural voice.
If that's his natural voice, he's got something wrong. He's got chronic laryngitis.
I love that dark gravelly voice, and he's like, the emo hair was a little bit much, but he has really intense dark eyes. Which was, I think, a really good...
Why doesn't Miss Bennett just marry you off to him then?
I would take him. No, it's I think the choice for actors, Sam Riley was the way to go. I was very, very happy.
What's he from? I didn't recognize him.
Nothing really big.
And see, what's Mr. Darcy to you? With someone who claims that they'd never wanted to see... By the way, I've got a bone to pick. You said last week you were going to go and watch it.
I
But
did.
you said from the womb that you were never going to watch it. Who are you going to listen to?
To never watch Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, but see, you don't know what you're missing out on. I mean, well, you know, it was kind of okay.
All right, well, you can... So I don't know what I'm missing out on. You'll have to tell me, and you'll have to say, basically, I want you to let me know what the parallels are between the original Pride and Prejudice and Prejudice and
Well,
Zombies.
once again, I mean, that's the thing. I only saw that 2005 version, which, as I understand, is there's a miniseries, which is more famous, I think, with Colin Firth in the role of Mr. Darcy.
Okay.
And I think I don't know, I think the general consensus is that he was the best Mr. Darcy, in that he was... They took an actor that traditionally does X and they made him sort of do Y, because Mr. Darcy at the start is a cold jerk, or so it seems.
Yeah.
And slowly over the period of the thing, Elizabeth Bennet learns to like him, or learns what he's actually doing behind the scenes.
His motivations and what's happened. Yeah.
And yeah, but comparing 2005 to this thing, they were very similar actually. The first 10 minutes is completely different of Zombies. I was like, what the fuck is this? As it started up.
Yeah.
And it's got that title crawl to explain everything to you. And I didn't really care. Like, I wanted
It was
to get
all
into
exposition.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything up until Pride and Prejudice and Zombies title, which was a really long intro.
Yeah.
Was all just talking at you, exposition. Here's an animated exposition montage of everything that's happened and the history of
zombie attacks of the last 100 years,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. I thought it was going to be a film like where it opens like Pride and Prejudice, and throughout the film they meet zombies.
Right.
And that was what I expected.
You didn't think that it'd be Pride and Prejudice set within an already pre-established zombie plague. That's
Virtually
happening
zombie
right now.
apocalypse in some senses.
Yeah.
Because they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
And they seem to make something about the film where there were 2 rings and they trapped the
It was
zombies
basically
within one of the rings
like
of
Attack
walls.
on Titan.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think they didn't trap them between the 2 walls. I think there was like all zombie territory on the outer ring, a little bit of zombie territory in the middle, and then zombie free in the middle of London.
Well, get the fuck out of London, douchebags. Jesus. I mean...
No, so the whole idea was that then these guys started to... some of the lords and ladies got a bit, they felt a bit safer, so then they went outside of the initial ring
just
in
like
London.
on Attack on Titan.
Yeah, exactly. Into the middle ring, and then started living in there. And that's where the more common zombie attacks were.
Yeah.
That's what I'm pretty sure. That's what I picked up. And it was from the introduction.
But even then,
it was
it's not
so Attack on Titan-y.
Yeah, but even then, that didn't really come back into it till the end.
No,
so
not
like,
at all.
The film's structure and plot points were very similar, except for the first 10 minutes, and then the last act.
Yeah.
Which you could see. I mean, it was always going to be different. The final act is always going to be the massive fight against the zombie hordes and things.
I think I could pick out most of what was parallel with Pride and Prejudice. I haven't seen the Pride and Prejudice, as you know, but I think I can sort of pick up on most of the main plot points that happen in the original book and the original movie.
They did some clever stuff. Like, for example, when Jane Bennett goes across to the house to meet Mr. Bingley. That happens in the other version. And
Does she get injured in some way?
No, yeah, she gets a cold, and so she has to stay at the estate for a week or whatever.
And that's when her sister goes over to visit, take care of her, and then she meets Mr. Darcy and spends a bit more time with him.
Yeah, and in PP, that just happens because it rained on her. In PP and Z, it happens because zombies attacked, she lost a horse, and she got rained on.
Yeah.
And they don't know if it's a zombie virus, which adds a little bit more of a tension thing.
I was so angry that they didn't go anywhere with that.
I know, yeah.
I wanted her to be like internally holding in the zombie cravings. I wanted her to be part undead. That would have been great.
No, I would have liked it if the tension of is she a zombie played out through the whole thing. And maybe that could have been why Bingley left her. Because Bingley leaves her because Darcy advises him to.
Yeah.
Basically says she's not quite right for you, and
She's after you.
and they
money.
both run away. Yeah. But what if he said to her, she could be a zombie, and then he ran away? It would give exactly the same motivation for Elizabeth Bennet to be angry at him and stuff. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they did some clever stuff where they warped the original plot points to that, but overall, not really. Like that ending, completely different. Like it's just they've just taken a zombie film and
added Pride and Prejudice
before it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after
In the middle act.
and it
The
didn't.
Pride and
They
Prejudice
didn't
middle
flow
act.
at all. Like
There were some, as you said, there were some smooth points that they worked in with the zombie theme quite well, but most of it was really juxtaposed and jarring. I thought it was, they were trying to add an extra element to it, make it more actiony, interesting, less talky, but at the same time, it just wasn't well executed.
Another example of that was the sister, so the youngest sister.
The one that gets kidnapped?
Yeah, and that's a good comparison, and another one where they zombified it well. They made that was a good bit of tension in PP&Z because the youngest daughter disappears and they have to go across zombie lines to go and get her back essentially and bring her back to the safe zone, which is awesome. That was a good plot point, and it was a good spin on the original version where she's run away from home. They don't know where she is. They're worried about her, and she comes back married. So like it's exactly the same types of scene and exactly the same, but they zombified it, and that's where it's really clever.
Okay. Question.
Yep.
With the second love interest that, is potentially Mr. Darcy's competitor for Elizabeth's
Wickham?
heart. Yep. Wickham.
Oh, sorry. Well, there's yes, Wickham is the military dude.
Yeah. Well, let's ignore the cousin.
Oh yes, we'll come
come back to
yeah.
it because that he is Matt Smith plays him, and he is
Collins.
Yeah. What's his first name?
Parson Collins. There are people out there.
Parson. Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Paisley Collins.
No, it's Parson. Yes. So I do want to come back to him because there's a big comment that I want to make on him. But
Wickham.
Yeah, Wickham. How is he the bad dude in this? How in PP? So in PP and Z, big spoilers, guys. Wickham is ultimately a zombie that has been suppressing his
Zombie urges.
Yeah, he's craving for brains, and through his anger at Darcy and his will to dominate the zombies and lead them in a united force against all the humans. So, with that in mind, what is Wickham? How is he the antagonist in PP? / is he an antagonist in PP?
I can't give you a clear answer straight away.
Okay.
Why? I think that might be something that's omitted in the film I watched, in the 2005 version, because he doesn't really return. He's there at the beginning, and yes, he's another suitor.
A romantic rival.
And he's the exact opposite of Mr. Darcy. He's sort of arrogant and proud when he shouldn't be, and sort of like he's sort of the opposite, but he seems on the surface level really fantastic. He does do a few things later on, but like he never comes back in a full way. Like he just
sort of peters out and disappears.
Yeah, he never vies for Elizabeth's attention properly. I think he disappears to the war or something like that.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, they really amalgamated him and a bad guy character that they wanted to put in.
Right, so he's much more prevalent in PP and Z.
Yes,
as opposed to his character in PP.
Yeah, but I don't think that's I mean, it's a really good omission in PP, because not knowing if he's good or bad brings in that tension of, is Darcy lying or is he lying? Because it's basically one person's word against the other person's word, which was once again rather heavy-handed in PP and Z. It was, he's clearly bad, he's clearly good, he's clearly bad, he's clearly good, and there's a lot more grey lines in the other version. In the other version, you don't know. Yeah, it's the same sort of story where Darcy and Wickham grew up together, and one of them betrayed the other, but it's a little bit more overt in PP and Z.
Okay.
So I want to show you like just a few quick clips from the film.
How long are they?
They're like a minute. We'll just play an audio clip here. Just check this one out.
A Mrs. Bennet, a Miss Bennet, a Miss Bennet, and a Miss Bennet, sir.
Oh, for heaven's sake, are we to receive every Bennet in the country?
What an excellent room you have, sir. Such expensive furnishings.
Oh, that was a great moment in the actual PP and Z. That was a little bit of a giggle from me.
See, what I'm trying to show, what I wanted to show you that for was, it was exactly the same stuff. So I presume that's a line from the original book.
Yep.
Or I presume that's a classic line.
I present to you Mrs. Bennet, Miss Bennet, Miss Bennet, and Miss Bennet.
Are we to receive them all?
They didn't say that in PP and Z. That wasn't the reply, was it?
No.
It was
also,
just the introduction.
The bitchy cousin or bitchy sister or whatever she is.
Sister.
She's got a much bigger role in PP.
Okay.
And she's a big drive in a lot of stuff.
She was barely mentioned.
Yeah, and her performance in that scene particularly was a lot weaker in PP and Z. But yeah, what I wanted to show you there was it's the same gag, but done a lot better, I think. It's just in terms of the filmmaking style. So they've taken a joke that works really well, but they're not done it as well. In this clip from the 2005 version, some of the editing and some of the shots, so they're really square on shots, and they really punctuate the humor. So it cuts to a really wide shot with a small butler in the frame, and he introduces Mrs. Bennet, Miss Bennet, and then it cuts to the exact reverse, very square onto the table, and everyone's shocked and surprised, which is a lot better like filmmaking language than what happened in PP and Z, where it was like this dolly shot through the room as the butler said it, and so you lose the humor of that joke.
Yeah, as opposed to all of them sitting down at once. And you're not wrong. That like I saw Carrie Mulligan there. I saw
Jenna Malone there.
Yeah. It's
unfortunately, I don't know the name of the younger sister. Damn it! But yeah, and also the mother delivers some of those lines exactly the same way, but a lot more like, "Oh, what a lovely house!" But like, I don't know, just it's got a bit more subtlety to it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, as opposed to that just really over the top and heavy-handed line of the mother to Lana Headey's character saying, "Oh, there's a lovely eye patch that you have there. Is it for function or fashion?" Lana Headey's just sitting there going, function.
And she's played by Judi Dench in the other version.
That's cool. I would much rather see Judi Dench delivering that sort of thing than Lana Headey. So in PP and Z, Lana Headey is like this kick-ass badass sword master.
I really did like that moment when they're around the table and they talk about it for the first time. It hard cuts to her over a pile of bodies screaming with missing an eyeball, and then cuts back to the over the table.
Like a machete sort of, or like Planet Terror sort of style thing. It was very, I would say, very Quentin Tarantino-ish. That moment. It was a little bit different. Where it
slam cuts to a bit of violence and comes back. Yeah. And like those little moments are really good, and you want more of them, but there wasn't enough. Here's the worst bit. They weren't fucking zombies. They could talk and think and go to sermons. The zombies in this film actively go to church.
The idea is that the more brains they ingest, the more animalistic and zombie-like they become.
Then don't ingest brains, you dumb shits.
Well, that was kind of what they were doing. They were eating pig's brains instead of
And then Mr.
brains.
Darcy valiantly feeds them brains so that they turn zombified.
Full zombie. Never go full zombie.
Yeah. Like, it's not... How much cooler would it have been if they were zombies? If this was Walking Dead crossed with Pride and Prejudice. That's what the film should be. It should be a zombie meandering towards two prim and proper ladies and them discussing properly how they should take care of it.
Sounds ridiculous.
I know! But that doesn't happen in this film at all, does it? It's a bunch of, like, monsters. They're not zombies! I'm not being a zombie elitist. I'm not saying every zombie has to...
You're being a bit of a zombie elitist.
No, I'm not saying everyone has to be a Romero zombie. Or a Walking Dead style zombie, like slow and meandering towards it. But these ones weren't really. They were intelligent and talked.
Spoke?
Let's
don't worry about it.
I was in the moment. I think that was an iconoclastic way of it.
You're just using words you don't even know what they mean.
Like talked. I can't do it. I can't use the word. I can't talk. So let's jump back to you wanted to talk about Collins. Collins in PP&Z was played by Matt Smith,
which I'm gonna put it out there, was my favorite part of PP&Z.
Okay.
I thought Matt Smith was such a great, I wouldn't quite say comedic break from the film, but at the same time, his performance was very outstanding. All of his actions and the way that he did everything was very Matt Smith-like, but at the same time was enjoyable to watch, and really it got me reinvigorated to keep going with the film, because by that stage before his introduction it was really starting to drag, and I was questioning why do we do
a podcast? Why do we go and watch films?
Exactly.
Why do we ingest media or art?
I was starting to question my actions, Benoit.
And Matt Smith brought you back from that? Wow.
Matt Smith brought me back from the brink. I found that his character and the way that he interacted with all six daughters was great.
I found it weird how people think he's so sexy. I find that a weird one.
Oh yeah, he's not like a.
Apparently, he's sexy in Doctor Who. Apparently, I can't see it myself.
Is he?
And so to bring him into this film, and he's playing the sort of the disgusting character, the one that none of the sisters want a part of. And in fact, when he leans into the mother even leans away from him, which is really cool. I like those little moments are really clever. But it was a real weird thing to see him on screen go, he's not an attractive guy, but everyone else thinks he's an attractive guy, but he's playing an unattractive guy. Where do I sit on this? What's happening?
Okay, yeah, I get it.
What about the main chick? What about Lily James?
Lily James?
Yeah.
Here's a big thing. Okay.
You had nothing to say about Lily James.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah, it's just I have nothing to say one way or the other. But here's a big thing. How do you feel being cast as a character who is defined as being the second best looking daughter? Like, we're going to cast you as the not best looking, but the second best looking. And like,
I think
going up against an actress who is like, we're going to cast you as the best looking one.
Oh, so in PP&Z, Matt Smith stands up and says, I would like to date Jane. Yeah. And the mother says, Jane's taken, but Elizabeth is free if you want.
She's almost as good looking.
That conversation isn't done at the table. That conversation is done to the mother in a private room.
Okay.
Which makes a lot more fucking sense. because it's once again a type of thing that a mother could say to someone behind closed doors as an option, like to say, Jane's taken, but Elizabeth has had her eye on you, is a lot nicer than going, Elizabeth number 2 in front of the table. And it's just an example of just not subtle stuff.
Yeah.
And it's taking what was humorous when it's said in a really pompous and really, I'm not going to use a fancy word here, Beau.
Just in case I pull you up on it.
Yeah, just in case I use it wrongly.
Incorrectly?
Look, where did you learn to talk? But it's an example of a type of thing where it was funny when it was subtle. And it's not funny when it's really obnoxious. And it ruins the character for you. Like, you're going, how rude is the mom to rank the daughters?
As bad as it is, I still believed his whole response. Like, I want to go out with Jane. Oh, okay, I can't go out with Jane. Elizabeth, you'll do. Oh, Elizabeth said no.
And then he marries the younger one.
It's just like he just works his way down. But I loved the being left. He kneels down at her, and then she sort of backs up, and then he stands up, talks to her, and then kneels down again, and then she backs up more. He stands up, talks to her, and then kneels down again, and finally proposes. She says no. He's like, oh.
And then all the family bursts in.
The mother comes in and goes, I'll talk her in. He goes, oh, good. And then she says no. He goes, no. Oh, and like, you can see his hope rise again, and then his hope crash, and then he was sort of dealing with that.
Now, Beau,
Yes,
what would you say if I told you all that really good stuff
was in PP?
Yeah, it's in the original. That's the stuff that's lifted. The stuff that you liked.
Okay, but is Matt Smith in it?
Oh no, he's not.
Well, who plays his character?
I didn't recognize the actor, but the moment he steps on the moment he comes into the film, you're like, oh,
really?
Yeah, and he's cast
like slimy and terrible.
Oh, he's cast well and he acts well in it. It's great. From the first frame you see him, and he's doing that dance. Like Matt Smith also had the dance.
That was great.
Yeah, that was good, and that's also in PP. But he's saying it's not as funny. It's just like, get away from him, Elizabeth. Get away.
Yeah.
Like when he leans into her and says, I want to spend the whole night with you. And you feel creepy just watching it. So I don't know which is more of a win, Matt Smith's humor or the other guy who genuinely makes you feel like how Elizabeth would feel in that scene.
Okay. I was thinking that Pride and Prejudice would be more highbrow and more language focused in terms of delivery and pompousness and stuff, but it sounds to me like there's a lot of physical and a lot of undertones of real conversation in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, both extremes. After that scene, after he tries to propose to Elizabeth, Elizabeth runs away in PP, and the mother chases after her, and it's a real. They've got like really quick scenes of you see Elizabeth run into frame and like start to do something, and then the mother's running in the background going. So it's real physical humor in that sense, and it's like the mother's being a headless chook running around trying to get her daughter to marry someone.
Yeah,
and so there's like the big broad physical humor in that way. But yes, there's also a lot of other stuff where it's they whisper things to each other and they say the opposite of what they say. Okay. In fact, there's a lot of negatives. Like they say to like. That's basically the underlying writing, it seems to be. I couldn't think of someone who didn't not have those skills. And so it takes you a little bit to unpack. I had to watch it with the subtitles on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because occasionally they'd say something, I'd be like, what? Why are you saying the opposite? Okay.
Double negative sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it takes a little while to unpack.
Yeah.
But there wasn't really that in PP&C, was there?
No.
It wasn't. Everything was...
Very, very straightforward, very... As much as they tried to use... Elizabethan speech patterns, it wasn't that difficult to follow at all. Okay.
What about the fights?
Pardon?
What about the fight scenes?
This is like Lily James. Like, I can't comment one way or the other.
Yeah.
It was just kind of not lackluster. Like
not good fight scenes. I'll just take the ball from you there and just go. They weren't good.
Yeah, but they weren't like outstandingly bad. It was just. There weren't many of them, and they didn't really stand out. It was just they were there.
Yeah, and some stuff like the very final fight sequence with the big explosion and blah blah blah. It's too much green screen.
Yep.
Too much visual effects.
Yep.
And you just know that there's not a lot happening. It's two characters run over a hill, and then they add a bunch of zombies into the shadows and the silhouette there, and then an explosion happens, and then they are surprised they're actually fine. You know what I mean? Like it's there wasn't a lot going on in the action scenes, let alone the action being staged poorly itself.
But
was my opinion.
Yeah, initially seeing the introduction before the opening credits or the opening title,
Which is all an animatic showing the history.
yeah, I thought that it was going to come off very similar to Abraham Lincoln, the Vampire Hunter.
Now, surprisingly, I haven't seen that one, but
What?
I can get the gist of it.
Yeah, I figured it would be a very similar sort of thing. You know, working in Abraham Lincoln's story with a very fictional and overly out there concept.
Right. And how did that compare?
Very similar in sense of lack of execution and over the top green screen, over the top visual effects. And for the final act especially.
Lincoln, was it sort of more sucker punch in its style of action?
Not quite to that level. Not quite to that level. It was very. I would say it was.
And by sucker punch, I mean like graphic novel-y. Like
I would say it was. If you could draw a middle point between PP&Z and Sucker Punch, that would be the line that Abraham Lincoln's Vampire Hunter or Vampire Slayer, whatever it is, would be writing. That's
right.
the line.
Okay. Well, does that mean that you're saying these fights are a little bit more realistic? Is that what you mean, or
They're less
like
over
grounded in reality?
They're less over the top than Abraham Lincoln.
There was one moment in one of the action scenes early on. So it's after the first party and they've just all met.
Yep.
And all the sisters storm into the house. Cut to a slow motion Steadicam shot of all the chicks walking towards the camera.
I saw you just being like, yeah.
They all pulled out swords and they all started killing people. Or killing zombies. And it was great. That was good. That was a good moment to hit.
Them walking up together, yes, I was on board with that. But as soon as they started using weapons,
I agree. Yes.
I couldn't help but look to the slight right of the sister just behind Lily James that was wielding a sword in a really
I saw that.
The same one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was on the right of the screen. It was real weird.
Yeah, and
She was just like sort
really
of flipping
drew
and
your eye.
flopping the sword around.
She didn't quite know how to use it, and it was just sort of. She was almost whacking them with the flat of the blade. It was so awkward and looked very, very weak and pathetic use of what she's supposed to be, well-trained, deadly warrior.
And Lily James fought well in normal speed, but in slow-mo, she didn't seem to look as good.
Yeah.
She didn't seem to be able to throw the punches or the kicks or whatever. But in normal speed, it looked good. But in the slow-mo, it didn't do it justice. But what I'm trying to say is that there was a good moment there. Like, there's a good fight scene moment. You know, like that's one that I can remember. But beyond that, not a lot.
I would absolutely agree. Now, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but do you have any more clips of Pride and Prejudice?
I got another.
Really?
Check this one out.
Shut the door, please, Elizabeth. Lizzie, are you out of your senses? I thought you hated the man.
No, Papa.
He's rich, to be sure. He would have more fine carriages than Jane. But would that make you happy?
Have you no other objection than your belief in my indifference?
None at all. We all know him to be a proud, unpleasant sort of fellow. But this would be nothing if you really liked him.
I do like him.
Yeah.
I love him. He's not proud. I was wrong. I was entirely wrong about him. You don't know him, Papa. If I told you what he was really like, what he's done.
What has he done?
But she doesn't like him. I thought she didn't like him.
So did I, so did we all. We must have been wrong.
Won't be the first time, will it?
Nor the last, I dare say.
Good Lord. I must pay him back.
No. You mustn't tell anyone, he wouldn't want it. We misjudged him, Papa, me more than anyone, in every way, not just in this matter. I've been nonsensical. He's been a fool about Jane, about so many other things, but then so have I. You see, he and I are so similar. We're both so stubborn. But
You really do love him, don't you?
very much.
I cannot believe that anyone can deserve you. But it seems I am overruled. So, I heartily give my consent. I could not have parted with you, my Lizzie, to anyone less worthy. If any young men come for Mary or Kitty, for heaven's sake, send them in. I'm quite at my leisure.
Holy shit. That was so real.
So I just showed Beau the Donald Sutherland clip at the very end of the 2005 version. It's the father, and essentially it's Darcy asking permission to marry Elizabeth.
I don't know if this is going to come across as well audio-wise, but you should totally check out this clip on YouTube or
Not
whatever.
that clip. Don't check out the clip. Don't advise people to check out the clip. Advise people to check out the film because the film's great.
Okay. The visuals for that with Donald Sutherland and Keira Knightley, the exchange and the acting and the delivery of all those lines was great. That was really good.
That was good, huh?
Wow.
Yeah? So, let's imagine PP and Z. Let's remove the Z. Let's amp up the P and the P. And you're getting an idea of how good Pride and Prejudice 2005 starring Keira Knightley was. And to attack your point before about how would it be to be cast as the second most attractive sister. Now that's not it. Elizabeth Bennet is not the second most attractive sister. Everyone does try and pimp the older sister, who's played by Rosamund Pike in the 2005 version, who's lovely. But the thing is that Elizabeth isn't classic. She doesn't do any of the stuff that the other girls do.
She's not a normal girl. She's different from the rest.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think anyone would be honored to be asked to play Elizabeth Bennet. In fact, it's like Taming of the Shrew. It's like how the older sister gets the guy, and then we follow the underdog story.
She's interesting. But Elizabeth Bennet isn't, the prime candidate because she's prettier. It's because she's more interesting and she's a more deep character than any of the other, two-dimensional sisters.
I'm so proud of you, Beau. Look at you. Look at you taking
same
pride in your Pride and Prejudice.
Okay. But at the same time, it is 100% stated in at least PP and Z that she aesthetically is the second prettiest.
When you're comparing Rosamund Pike to Keira Knightley, who cares?
But that's ultimately what it is. It's like, we want you to play a more interesting character in terms of
I'm
personality. You have a better personality than the older sister, but you're not quite as pretty.
Yeah, but she'd come back and say, I'm Keira Knightley, and everyone would be like, yeah. Aren't I too pretty for the part? And you'd be like, yeah, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work. It's fine.
We'll dress you down.
Yeah. We'll give you a terrible fringe, and boom. It's like how you make the hot chick the nerdy chick just by putting some glasses on her.
And wearing overalls and splattered in paint and shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the point. Like they're both in the top percentile.
Are you comparing Pride and Prejudice to like the teen,
She's the
teen
Man
make-
or something.
What's the teen makeover movie? She's All That?
Or 17 again, or
Not another teen movie. Teen makeover. Look at Elizabeth Bennet go from zero nerdy gal to one all the boys are chasing.
Mr. Darcy played by Owen Wilson.
Oh god, that's awful.
All right.
Look, I just don't think you're up to the as interesting as I'm just going for an Owen Wilson impression. He would be an awful Mr. Darcy. He would be the worst. I think Riley James is a better Mr. Darcy visually. After showing me that clip, better Mr. Darcy than the Pride and Prejudice Keira Knightley version of Mr. Darcy.
Oh, I mean,
I think he looks more dark and rugged.
I disagree with you, but you didn't get the full film. And now that you've got a little taste tester, maybe you'll want to go the whole way. Maybe you'll want to watch the whole Pride and Prejudice, eh?
It's tempting.
Yeah?
It's tempting.
All right. And maybe that's the purpose of this film. I wouldn't have watched Pride and Prejudice had I not been doing the research for Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I think it's a stepping stone.
To get people like me who, at birth, came out and swore, I will never watch Pride and Prejudice.
And now that you're getting a little glimpses of it, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But, sorry, maybe it's the book. Maybe the Pride and Prejudice book that this film is based on was designed as that. Because even now, with a soft spot for Pride and Prejudice, I would be still a little bit apprehensive about reading the book. But I could very easily read the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies book, I reckon.
Is there a Pride and Prejudice and Zombies book?
Yeah, that's what the film's based on.
Oh!
So it's not... Yeah. There was a book that was released.
What?
And then someone picked that up and went, oh, boom, this is a great idea. Let's do it. I think it loses a little bit of the stepping stone quality to it by being a film.
So you think the book would be more enjoyable and a better stepping stone than Pride and Prejudice and Zombies
Yeah, I think so.
for introducing and...
Because there's no way I could get you to read Pride and Prejudice.
Fuck no.
But now there's a little chance you might watch it.
With that cast and with that scene that you showed me...
With Donald Sutherland fucking nailing it.
I would actually give my time to probably watch that now.
For that, I give Pride and Prejudice and Zombies 5 stars. It came in, it did its job. No, but seriously, no, a lot less than that.
This discussion seems like more of a talk up and a review of Pride and Prejudice as opposed to Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I like it.
Actually,
it seems like it's more of a...
Can I give stars to both of them?
Sure.
Yay!
But
is it time? Have we come to it?
Yeah, we're here. We've reached this point. I think that this discussion has all been in a build-up and an introduction, and I'm trying to think of the word.
Oh, can't you come up with the word, Beau? Oh, don't worry. When you come up with the wrong one, I'll totally shoot you down. I've got my thesaurus on hand here. Oh, let me just use Wiktionary to look up the correct term that you're looking for. I found the word here. Asshole.
So we've come to the understanding that Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, or PPZ, has really been a stepping stone and a way of trying to make Pride and Prejudice more accessible and pique interest in the original Pride and Prejudice. That's ultimately what we've come to. So, with that in mind, what would you rate PP and Z, and what would you rate Pride and Prejudice?
And that's a really tough question because it does achieve its goal, it seems like. I'm really pleased that I watched Pride and Prejudice. Not so pleased I watched Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. But I do like knowing the story or where their similarities lie. But Pride and Prejudice and Zombies wasn't entertaining and wasn't that good. 2 stars. 2005 Keira Knightley version, 4 stars. I'm leaning towards another half.
What?
I'm leaning towards the
What you've previously stated is your perfect film. It's the highest star rating that you've ever given any film is 4.5 stars.
And I'm leaning towards it. That little odometer is like going up there towards it. The more I think about it, fantastic cast, good performance, really good story. And I was clapping and I had a tear at the end. A single tear. I think it was from like a dehydration or something. But
So what was it that would detract from your theoretical, even though I know you'll never give it, theoretical 5-star rating?
Oh, the reason it's not a 5-star is because there's some imbalance in the storytelling. Like there's some bits that feel a little too long or some bits that feel a little too short. And I really don't know how I'll go to them on a second viewing. But as a first viewing, as a being introduced to the story, I loved it.
So are you sitting with 4 stars, or are you taking that big leap to 4.5?
It's good filmmaking, 4.5.
Oh!
It's good.
Oh shit! Oh shit! It happened.
And for a film that can make me tear up, it did good.
Well, I don't know how this podcast became a review and recommendation for Pride and Prejudice, but it happened, and I'm gonna go with it. And you know what? I'm gonna watch it.
Whoa! I
So
reckon
my-
next week, give us a real quick review of it.
Sure.
Let us know what your star rating is. We'll do it after the next episode.
Somehow the promise that I made to myself at birth is now going to be revoked.
Yes.
All because of a shitty 2-star movie called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
This is now showing.
To be fair, Wreck-It Ralph made you tear up.
Oh, but come on, what was I gonna do? His cart was broken. That was so sad.